Hey, there he is. All right. This is exciting. Yay. Good evening.
Good, good evening to you.
Oh, it's so great to see you, Bobby. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing fine.
Yay. Are you up there in
Hey,
Kentucky
Bobby.
at the college? We
David
got
McLaughlin
David
here.
McLaughlin here. Yeah. Are you up at the college or are you at your house in Kentucky?
I'm at my home here in uh, Portland, Tennessee.
Oh, in Tennessee. Cool. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much for taking the time to be with us here. It's just, it's a real treat for everybody here, myself included. I've been really looking forward to this, and I was just telling everybody here, this is our we're closing out this series called Monroe and Beyond, where we've been studying a lot of Bill's breaks, down to the letter and all this kind of stuff, and we're heading on to folks, starting to do more with creating their own style, and
Yeah.
so I think you're just such a perfect, mandolin hero in that regard to to speak with and to get inspiration from and advice and wisdom about how to do some of to aim to do some of the things that you were pioneering, taking the tradition and then doing it your own way. But I've got a bunch of questions. If you're ready, I'll just start with the first one. Is that okay?
Might as well. Yeah.
All right, cool. So who did you have to learn mandolin from when you were just very first starting?
I never had anybody.
And nobody. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just never did. I don't know. I played guitar. Uh, uh, I don't know, 3 or 4 years before I ever really got interested in a mandolin.
Uh-huh.
And I always loved the old fiddle tunes and just instrumentals. I just something about Sally Goodman, Far on the Mountain, and all them type
Yeah.
of tunes there. And I got into that, and I played a fiddle for a while too, So
Yeah.
I got into all of that right there, and so I had a nice Martin guitar that my dad bought for me when I was pretty young, so it was a good one. And I don't know. I had been listening to Bill Monroe, play and sing and all like that. I didn't know how he played, what he played, or nothing. I just didn't know. But I was playing. I learned them fiddle tunes, every one of them. Just learned them on play them on guitar.
Oh, wow, you're flat picking on the guitar.
Huh?
You're flat picking them on the guitar first time?
Yeah, yeah. I was just
Huh.
thinking about that.
Yeah.
And first of all, the first when I first started playing the guitar, I wanted to be like Lester Flatt. I
Oh yeah.
put thumb pick and a finger pick on. But
Uh-huh.
I was
Uh-huh.
playing like that for a long time. And
Hmm.
when I decided, some guy had a mandolin somewhere, and uh, I went up. Well, I was working in Bluefield, West Virginia, with the Lonesome Pine Fiddlers.
Uh-huh.
This boy that sang with me and played the banjo. His name was Larry Richardson, and he was from Galax, Virginia.
Yeah.
I was living in Ohio at the time. Him and some other folks came by a radio station where I was on the air with a couple of other guys playing and singing too. So,
Mhm.
but I had never seen anybody with a banjo. I'd heard opera and I'd heard
Uh-huh.
Earl play, but I never seen anybody uh, that actually played one. So this boy here and a couple of friends of his dropped by this radio station where I was working with a guy at WPFB in Middletown, Ohio. And
Oh.
this guy had the program. He had a guy playing electric mandolin with him,
Huh.
and so that just a guitar and electric mandolin. He did singing. Of course, he had it read the commercials off and all that. So,
Uh-huh.
but I don't know. To start with, I was sitting at home, me and my brother and my sister, and all three of us trying to learn how to play. And
Yeah.
some some guy came to the house that day, and we were just sitting in the floor playing.
Uh-huh.
And we played there for a little while for this guy, and he had a little old recorder. I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know what it was. He had a little box just about so big. And he said, "Do you care if I tape it?" And I said, "Well, I never heard about taping anything." So I said, "Yeah, go ahead." So he pulled out this little thing, and I looked at it and I said, what is inside that? He said, "It's wire." I said, "I've never seen a wire recorder." He said, "Well, it's a new thing they've come out with."
Right.
And so he pulled the thing out. We played some songs, and my sister and me was singing together, and Sonny was trying to learn how to play at that time. So we just all sit on the floor, and this guy taped some things that we did. And my sister, she was singing lead, and I was singing tenor to her, you know.
Wow. Yeah.
And but we did that for a little while. This guy taped what we did, and he somehow or another, his name was Otto Ginner, and I don't remember now where he was from, but we were living just north of Dayton, Ohio at the time, and he lived nearby there, and so he heard about me learning to play and all that. So he come over to the house one day, just sat down on the floor with us, and had this little box. And I said, "What is that?" He said, "That's a recorder." And of course, I never seen no recorder. I didn't know nothing about that. But he turned the thing on, and my sister, she was singing the lead to some of Monroe's songs or whatever we was doing. And I was singing tenor to her, you know. So I mean, it just happened that we was just doing it that way. So, and Sonny was trying to learn how to play, and he taped us on a few things that we did, and she wrote a song that we sang. And I don't know how much stuff we put on that recorder he had, but when he left, he took off, and we didn't know. I didn't know nothing about a recorder or just had never heard of anybody taping anything like that.
Yeah.
You know? So I would, but I might have been 16 or 17 years old. And so this guy took off, and he knew somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody, you know, and he played them tapes for somebody, and before I knew it, he put them out on a recording.
Wow.
He gave us a copy of it. It's a big old 78 record of what we was doing, you know.
Wow.
And I thought, boy, it kind of got me interested in listening to myself back, you know.
Yeah, right. Off to the races.
That just kind of kept going on and on. And just one thing led to another. And at that time, of course, I lived in Dayton, Ohio at the time, and we were sitting in the floor at my house. And at that time, the station WPFB in Middletown, Ohio, where Joe Mullins is at right now. Well, his dad had a radio program there, and played records of, and he was from Kentucky. And so anyway, the stuff we taped, this guy that had the recorder, he took and somehow or another got that put on a label of some kind. And so. But he said, "I know where little jamboree is. If you'd like to play, get up in front of some people to play." He says, "I can get you on that." And of course, I didn't know what a jamboree was. I just said, "Where's it at?" He said, "It's down here at Middletown, Ohio." And it was only about 30 miles or 40 where we lived. So he knew somebody that knew somebody, and he come and told me. He said, they do shows on Friday night and Saturday night, and said it's right out in an open field where the radio station's at. I said, "Well, okay." He said there'd be people there, but I never played in front of nobody. I didn't hadn't got to that hadn't got to that won't yet. But anyway, I've been a couple other little guys. We've been missing playing together too, you know. So this guy said, "Well," he said, "learn a couple of tunes," and he said, and I'll tell him you will be down there." So me and these other two guys went down. Sonny, he didn't go, but well, he was just trying to learn how to play, so he didn't go. And of course, my sis, she chickened out.
Oh wow.
Me and these other two guys went down there, and I'm still playing the guitar,
Uh-huh.
And so, by that time, I've been listening to Ernest Tubb, and the guy played the guitar with him, Jimmy Short, played
Yeah.
electric guitar, and I knew it had a pickup on it, but mine wasn't louder enough, so I went and got me a pickup and put on it.
Hmm.
I was playing with a pickup on a little old small amp then, but anyway, we went down at that jamboree, and they got us out there. And they had it was under a tent right out in the field,
Hmm.
and the radio station is where it was also. And so the guy called us up on the stage. And we need one song. It was that one of Monroe put out. I can't think of the title of it right now. But that's the only song we knew to sing.
Uh-huh.
And so we went out there singing. I'd never been in front of a crowd before. I didn't know. I wasn't used to it, to that type
Yeah.
of thing. And
Yeah.
when we got finished with that song, I think it was "Summertime Past and Gone" that Monroe
Uh-huh.
had put out, I believe.
Uh-huh.
And when we got done with that song, I didn't know how many people was out there, but this tent was clear. I mean, people's all rows across there from as far as I could see back through there.
Wow.
And I thought, my goodness, and I'd never been in front of a crowd before, and that looked scary to me. I was
Yeah.
completely scared to death. We got out there and sang that one song, and daggone people stood up, jumping and hollering right up and down. I thought this was going to fight or something like that.
Wow.
So the guy says, "You got to do another." I said, "That's the only one we know. We don't know another." So he said, "You got to." He said, "They want you to come out there and play another song."
Yeah.
And I thought, my goodness, what in the world can I don't know another song. That's on what we knew. And I got to thinking about my dad taught school in Hyden, Kentucky. And I lived 1,000 Sticks. It's like 4 miles over there.
Uh-huh.
And I had a horse I rode. I'd take him there on a horse, go back home, stay all week, and go back and get him that weekend. So my mom had a sister that lived right up on the hill, so he stayed with them.
Uh-huh.
Week was up. Anyway, we got out to this tent and did that song, and at where my mom's sister lived, right there in Hyden, there's a little old, we call them Jenny Barn back in the days, but it was a little old restaurant.
Uh-huh.
People served food in there. So, but they had a big jukebox in there, and I don't know if you remember a lady named Cousin Emmy
Oh yeah.
from years ago. Well,
Yeah.
she had a recording on that jukebox of Ruby, and it
Ah.
went from daylight till dark. I mean, that's all that just played on that jukebox. And it's a restaurant too, and I think they did a little drinking in that place in
Uh-huh.
mistake. But it was that recording of Ruby by Cousin Emmy went all day long. I mean, it was, and I just learned it like that.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
get back to this thing in Middletown. I told the guy, I said, "We don't know another song." He said, "You got to do something." He said, "Them people, they're gonna get mad if you don't."
Uh-huh.
I got to think, well, I know that old song Ruby, and I'd heard it so many times, I just knew it by memory.
Yeah.
So these other two guys didn't. I said, "Just follow me." And I had a guitar. I went out there and sung Ruby, and that crowd, I never seen people act like that before.
Wow.
I wasn't used to that.
Wow.
I got finished that song, and here come this big heavy set guy from the radio station down there. He was the owner of the station. He said, "Who sung that stupid song Ruby a while ago?"
What?
Boy, I wouldn't even open my mouth. I never said a word. Somebody sang a song called Ruby down there. And I said, "Well, it was me." And he said, "Well, get out there and say it again." He said, "People want to hear it." He said, "We're broadcasting this."
Wow.
And he said, "And people call it, they won't hear it again." So I got out there and sung Ruby again, and boy, then I got scared seeing how people acted over that. I mean, I'd never seen people act like that before, jumping up and down and hollering, trying to dance and everything.
Yeah.
And I went out there and sung Ruby again. And of course, that when I did that again, they kind of quieted down. But this manager of the radio station, he reached me $4. He said, "I'm going to give you $4 for singing tonight." I said, "Oh,"
Wow.
I didn't. I didn't know anything about getting paid for singing. So, but that's
Yeah,
how it really how the thing got started with me, and I
that's
kind of got interested in learning how to sing, and that one thing led to another, and so
yeah.
I went from there.
Well, I will say, I thank you for telling that story. I'd never heard that story. I will say that just from my own perspective, hearing you sing Ruby is absolutely one of the best experiences that one can have in life. It is so powerful. I'm not surprised that they were batting each other over the head with their chairs and all that kind of stuff, hearing it for the first time, because, you're just a force of nature and your voice is just so freaking amazing.
Well,
Uh,
let me mention one thing. Did you ever hear of a lady named Cousin Emmy and her
yeah,
Kim folks that played at Renfro Valley?
yeah, yeah.
She was the one that recorded Ruby the first time I ever heard it.
Yeah, yeah.
Her recording of it, I heard it so many times going on a jukebox that my mom's sister's boy or brother had a little restaurant on the hill, and that thing went from daylight to night. So I learned Ruby with just I learned all the words to it. And I
Yeah.
was thinking there at Middletown when he said you got to do another song, and I Ruby I'd heard it so many times I knew it anyway. So I went out there to sing it again, and boy, the people squalling and hollering. I thought myself, I got to get out of here and go home. I'm scared of these people. Scare me to death. I'm gonna kill you. So that
that's
that was a night out. I'll always remember, and
that's such a great
I never
story.
forget that. But
I
that got me interested in uh, singing for people.
Yeah, yeah, I
Crowd,
can
all like
sure
that.
understand why. I wanted to ask you, I had heard that you were a pretty big fan or interested a lot in Howdy Forrester's music.
Oh yeah,
Is that is that right? What was it
yeah.
that drew you to his music? Was it just the way he played the melodies and you would find him on the mantle in that way?
Well, uh, I had, of course, I was playing the guitar at that time,
Hmm.
and Howdy, of course, I loved the fiddle. I missed with the fiddle too. But
Yeah,
I heard Howdy playing all them fiddle tunes, and I got
yeah,
interested in that right there. And he played different. That it wouldn't sound good in Faro on the Mountain, and it was stuff down in B flat and some of them horn pipes that he played. Well, I got interested in it and listened to that. So uh, that's what I wanted to. And I just learned. I learned every one of them, and finally found recordings of them. And
yeah.
I'm talking about a high level horn pipe and say, old man, can you play the fiddle? Just any tune. And Howdy was good at that. Howdy came along in the days of the old fiddlers back before I got started. And
Yeah.
Howdy Foster and another good player. I can't remember his name right now, but they played twin fiddles all the time.
Hmm.
They worked with Gene Autry in Dallas, Texas, when he was on the air out there.
Oh, yeah.
Those two worked there. Well, and I got interested in the fiddle. Well, I was trying to play the fiddle, and I got interested in fiddle tunes that they played,
Yeah.
and I was picking them out on a guitar, just playing all them fiddle tunes on the guitar.
Uh-huh.
And some little guy come to the house one day. He had a mandolin. I'd seen a mandolin, heard of it. I knew it was
Uh-huh.
tuned like a fiddle,
Uh-huh.
and I'd been playing the guitar with the thumb pick, the finger pick.
Right.
So this guy had an F12 Gibson mandolin,
Hmm.
and I know where it is today, who
Hmm.
owns it today.
Mm-hmm.
But it was one of them, had a scroll on it and everything.
Uh-huh.
So I wanted that mandolin. And this guy, he said, I said, how much you take for that mandolin? He says, that guitar you playing, he says, I'll trade with you. I
Huh.
said, you take this and let me have the mandolin. I traded the guitar off to that mandolin.
Oh, wow.
And I found out that you could get a good tone out of a thumb pick and a finger pick with a mandolin.
Right.
So I went and got me my dad he played a little bit. He had a flat pick. I went and got me a flat pick and started blowing it. It come out real good.
Yeah.
So that got me started playing the mandolin. And of course, I still mess with the fiddle a little bit today, but I mandolin had frets in it, the fiddle didn't, so I learned to play the mandolin.
Yeah. I,
that
I
got me going on that.
I can't think of anybody back in those days who would have been playing Howdy Forester tunes on the mandolin. Was there anybody else, or was it basically just you?
Not about it I knew. I just heard him on the radio.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
had Howdy had drifted into Nashville and was playing with Roy Acuff at that time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
At that time, but he Howdy and I mean some of the places or some of the people that played the fiddle back in those days. I can't remember any of their names right now, but they were good players. I mean, and Howdy and uh, another good player played twin fiddles with Gene Autry.
Uh-huh.
Gene Autry had a radio show in Dallas, Texas, and they
Uh-huh.
played twin fiddles with him all the time. And I heard some of that. It's, it kind of got me interested in it. And when I found the mandolin was tuned like a fiddle, why, and I could use a flat pick, I really got into the mandolin then. So I traded that. Some guy come to the house one day and had an F12 Gibson mandolin. I don't think they even make them today, but it was had the scroll on it and everything.
Uh-huh.
And as good as I like to play that mandolin, I mean that guitar, uh, I played that mandolin with the guy, and I said, "Well, I said I'd like to have that mandolin." He said, "Well, I'll trade it. I'll give you this mandolin for that guitar." So I traded my guitar off, got a mandolin, and the more I played it, the more I liked it. So I guess
That's a good moment. Let's see now, Wyatt, are you there? Is that the mandolin?
Yeah, that's it.
Wyatt says he's got
that's
that
it.
mandolin.
That's it right there. That's an F12 Gibson.
How about that?
I don't know what year that was. Now I can't
It's
remember.
about
Way back there
maybe
before I ever got started.
1949.
Huh?
49.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that.
But that guy, I never knew where that man drifted off to for I don't know how many years it was. But I'm glad he got it. He's one of my students. I'm glad he got the man because I was down knows where it's at, you know. So
Yeah, drifted down to
yeah.
Maryville. Bobby, I had a question about your relationship with Bill Monroe because y'all had a lot in common, like amazing singers, uh, amazing mandolin players. What was your relationship with them like? What was your friendship like? Was it a bit of friendly competition, or were y'all pretty good friends, or what was it like?
Well, it took me a while to really get around to. I got interested in what they call bluegrass now. You know, I got just and yeah, this is the Grand Ole Opry. That was on Saturday night. There was nothing else to do except listen to the Grand Ole Opry. And I heard I was my voice was kind of low at that time. I was really hooked on Ernest Tubb. You know,
Yeah.
I was singing his songs, and I listened to Monroe, but I heard a sound coming through there when the old radio was static, and we lived in a place called Thousand Sticks, Kentucky. It's about 4 miles out in the mountains from Hyden, Kentucky, in that neighborhood anyway.
Uh-huh.
But I got to listen and I was trying to hear Bill Monroe. I got to listen to Ernest Tubb and Monroe.
Uh-huh.
And when Monroe came home, and I liked what I heard, and I didn't know much about what they called it, bluegrass, or I just liked the music, you know.
Yeah.
But I heard some sound come through there one night, and I didn't know what it was. My dad said, "That's a banjo there,"
Hmm.
and I got to wonder what was a banjo, what it looked like.
Huh.
Come to find out, I kept I listened and listened and listened every Saturday night. Never heard that banjo again, or that instrument again until way later on. And come to find out, it was Earl Scruggs when he was with Monroe.
Yeah.
It's been a while ago back now it is.
Yeah.
And so, but again, I got interested in the banjo, and I got interested in how he could play the guitar. And I got a chance to go see Bill Monroe when Flatt Scruggs was with him, and Chubby Wise and Cedric Rainwater.
Wow.
I got to see that group one time on the stage.
Wow.
I was pretty young, but that got me interested in. I tried to sing like Ernest Tubb, but I was at home one day, my voice just changed, and I couldn't sing his songs in his key no more.
Wow.
And I could sing his songs, but I had to put them up in a higher key, But
That's
that
wow.
didn't sound like Ernest Tubb to me. But I
Right.
get to listen to Monroe and the Bluegrass Boys, and my voice all of a sudden it just went high and stayed there.
Wow.
And I got to singing Monroe songs and songs
Yeah.
like that. So
Yeah.
that got me into bluegrass, and got a chance to listen to the opera all the time. And they were by that time. My dad had left Thousand Sticks, Kentucky, and we had moved to Dayton, Ohio.
Hmm.
And that was all. That was a brand new life to me. I mean, it was around cars running up down the street and all like that. But
Wow.
we got to listen to Bill Monroe and the Bluegrass Boys, and it's a big place up there called had a big auditorium, and in Dayton, and I listened to the opera, and Monroe mentioned one night he was coming to that building to play in Dayton, Ohio,
Uh-huh.
the next day, which was on a Sunday or something like that, I guess.
Uh-huh.
But I told my dad, I said, and I couldn't even drive at that time, I wasn't even driving a car or nothing.
Uh-huh.
I said, I got to go see them. And he said, so he got me the car. I got to see Bill Monroe, Flatt Scruggs, Chubby Wise, and Cedric Rainwater, that group together.
Yeah.
And from then on, I just, and my voice, just about that time, I was singing Ernest Tubb songs, but just
Uh-huh.
about that time, my voice changed to where it's out now, and never it just stayed there. So
Hmm.
I got to singing Monroe's songs,
Yeah.
I sang Ernest Tubb songs, but I had to put them up about 8 frets higher than he had them.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So I got to singing bluegrass songs that Bill Monroe sang and learned them all, and so I just really I got onto the bluegrass, and I've never let it go since.
Yeah. Now I have a question about like so when you and Sonny formed your band, did you make changes to your playing in a big way once y'all had your band going compared to what you had played before, or was it kind of a continuation of your style before?
Well, of course, Sonny learned by listening to Earl Scruggs.
Uh-huh.
I
Uh-huh.
learned to play the mandolin. Uh, Homer and Jethro Burns played the mandolin. I got to listen to some of
Yeah.
his stuff and found
Yeah.
out that he played a mandolin, and I didn't. But if I had one, but I played the guitar all the time. But
Right.
and I like the fiddle tunes. I found out that they could play. When I got to listen to Bill Monroe and I saw him playing a mandolin, I thought, boy, I believe I ought to start playing one of them. So
Uh-huh.
I turned that guitar off to that mandolin that he's got there.
Uh-huh.
So, but that put me onto the mandolin. But I I got into to listen to all them songs. And what was the question you asked me then?
I was asking, like, did your playing change once you started playing with Sonny in the band, or did you kind of do some things differently?
Oh yeah, well he was trying to learn how to play like Earl Scruggs, and I was trying to. I never did try to. I've sung Bill Monroe songs, but my voice was different from somewhere or another, and I just got to. And I knew all of Ernest Tubbs songs, and it didn't sound right for me to put them in a higher key after I've been singing them in the keys he did them,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And so, I got on to singing Monroe songs, and I still, even today, I sing some Ernest Tubbs songs, but I put them up where, in my key, But I got to listen to Monroe and I learned everything he did on the mandolin and everything, and he got me interested in wanting to play the mandolin. I didn't know what one of them was, and I got a chance to go see him and with Flatt and Scruggs and Chubby Wise and Cedric Ranger. I got to see them,
Uh-huh.
and I found out he played a mandolin. And I saw that mandolin in person.
Yeah.
I told my dad, I said, that's why I want one of them right there. So that's why
Yeah.
I traded the guitar off to that mandolin he's got right there now. So
Yeah. Yeah. Do you remember the first time you met Bill and got to visit with him?
I was so nervous I didn't know what to do.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I could, it's
Yeah, I
reasonable.
remember. I remember. Well, I saw him in person 2 or 3 times before I ever had enough nerve to go up and talk to him.
Uh-huh.
I
Uh-huh.
forgot to. I was somewhere. My brother and me had kind of got together singing somewhere, and uh, I don't know if my brother was then with me at that time, but I got to play at that little radio station down at Middletown, Ohio, and they had a jamboree. Well, they booked Bill Monroe and Bluegrass Boys there for a Sunday show. Well,
Uh-huh.
I had seen him previous to that at the Memorial Hall in Dayton. So I knew that I knew who he had with him.
Uh-huh.
But of course, by that time, Flatt and Scruggs had left him, and Chubby Wise had left him, and he never, just him. Well, but he had Don Reno came to work with him right then.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's where first time I ever seen him.
Mm-hmm.
But I just got into singing Bill Monroe songs, and it just went from one thing to another.
Yeah. Were there some things about Bill's playing that you liked, and some things that you felt like you wanted to do differently? Was there anything that you were like, okay, I like this, but I really want to do this other thing? Any kind of those?
I bought every record he put out
Ah,
that
yeah.
time, and I learned every mandolin, everything he did on the mandolin.
Uh-huh.
And if he put out something, I learned just as quick as he could play it. I mean, as quick as I
Yeah.
heard it, I'd learn how that. And I just stuck to the mandolin, and he's the guy, first guy I ever heard play one of them. So and
Yeah.
I told my dad, I said, I got to have one of them right there. I ain't gonna fool with guitar more. So I,
Yeah.
I, I finally run on to that, found that mandolin that he's playing there. He's got
Uh-huh.
played it
So
guitar
cool.
kit, and that's all I've ever played since.
Uh-huh.
Of course,
My
I've
dad, my dad, Red Henry, he had a question. He was asking, he wanted to hear about the A model that you took to Korea and what happened to it. He said there was a story there.
well, I didn't get back with it. That's a story. It's a bad story.
uh,
Uh, I was in the Marines, and we were in Korea, North Korea, or just Korea. And they put us, and I carried that mandolin with me everywhere I went. And just traveling around in the United States, why it was okay. Well, I went to Korea, and I took that mandolin with me to Korea. And we had to go to an outpost one night, and I took the mandolin with me there. And this little uh, black boy that got acquainted with it. He was singing that blues song, Caledonia, and all that right there. That
uh-huh.
I got to playing the mandolin in a tent with the guys, and he took his mess gear like he's playing drums. Me and him entertaining the guys. But
Uh-huh.
anyway, that mandolin, I took it everywhere I went and played it. But they put us on the outpost in North Korea one night, and I took the mandolin with me, and I had it in a bunker. And we got attacked that night by the North Koreans, and so we had to get off, get out of that. It's in a bunker, and had to get out of it in a hurry. And I just poured the rain down and all that right there, and the enemy coming towards us. So I left it in that bunker, and of course, we left there, that outpost. We had to leave there because it just flooded the whole place.
Mm-hmm.
So that man went right down a bunch of water. It floated off in a water over there. But
Wow. So I bet when you got back from all of that kind of experience, thank you for your service to the country, you were ready to play some music. And I can't help but think that those kind of like intense experiences overseas in the military would have given your music even more intensity and meaning. Do you feel like you were coming back and you had like a renewed like power and strength in the music you were playing and singing?
when I got back out of the Marine Corps, everybody said, "What are you going to do when you get?" When I got discharged, everybody said, "What are you going to do?" I said, I'm gonna go back doing the same thing I was doing before I come in this place, this outfit here. So I went straight
Yeah.
home. I had that melon. I was in Bluefield, West Virginia, with working with those fine fiddlers playing the guitar, and the boy played the banjo. He knew Wade Maynard.
Uh-huh.
Familiar with him?
Yeah.
Wade lived over in North Carolina, and this boy, of course, Wade played the banjo, and then this boy did too. That was with me, and one day he said, "Let's go over to North Carolina." I said, "I know Wade Maynard," so we
Cool.
went over there, and Wade had a group called Wade Maynard and his Maynard's Mountaineers. I
Yeah.
know that. So we went over there, and this guy he had a Gibson man on there, and Larry Richardson told me, he said, "You ought to buy that right there." Well, I had seen it one of Bill's playing. I thought, and I picked a guitar,
Right.
I said, "I don't need that thing." He said, "You go." He said, I bet you can play one." He said, "You ought to just buy that."
Uh-huh.
So this guy wanted, I think he wanted $10 for
Uh-huh.
it, $15. So I just bought it, took it back to Bluefield with me, and put it under my bed. And
Hmm.
it stayed there for a while. And I played the guitar. And Larry, just the boy, he was from Gay Virginia, so he quit the group.
Uh-huh.
We and he and I did all the singing for the fiddlers,
Uh-huh.
So we had to have somebody that could sing with me, and so we didn't know who to get. I had seen Bill Monroe before that. He came to Bluefield,
Uh-huh.
and Jimmy Martin was playing the guitar and singing with him.
Uh-huh.
I knew that Jim was. I met him right up when Bill came there. I met Jimmy Martin that night, and I got to thinking he might come to Bluefield and work with us, and me and him sing together.
Yeah.
I called him. He'd quit Bill Monroe by that time.
Uh-huh.
He went back to Morristown, Tennessee, pretty close to where he was from. I called him, and he said, "I'll be there just as quick as I can." So he came to Bluefield, West Virginia. He and I got to sing together,
Wow.
and that was really a turning point to my singing. I got more into it right there.
Yeah.
He knew all them songs that Monroe sang, and he was a good lead singer besides Lester Flatt, I guess, that worked
Yeah.
with Monroe.
Yeah.
He 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 WCYB in Bristol, where Flatt and Scruggs had been playing.
Mm-hmm.
He said we ought to go there and get us band and go there and get on that program down there. And so that's what we did. And we got on that show, and somewhere or another, he decided he didn't want to play no more. Jimmy Martin did.
Huh.
We had it was Jimmy Martin and Bobby Osborne and the Sunny Mountain Boys.
Uh-huh.
And we walked out on the street that one day from the station, and he says, "I'm going to head back to Nashville." And we was featured there on that Farm and Fun Time there, I think, on WCYB. Stanley Brothers have been there, and a lot of other people. And he says, "I'm heading back to Knoxville. You want to go with me?" And I says, "No, I ain't going to go. I'm going to stay here."
Uh-huh.
So I made arrangements with the radio station with see Bobby Osborne and the Sunny Mountain Boys. Jimmy, he went off site walking. He just had his guitar in the case, and he just whoa. He left right there.
Wow.
No reason. I didn't know what.
Wow.
He just walked off and left me with the band. So I told him at the radio station, I said, "Well, he quit." I said, "Can I stay?" He said, "Yeah, you stay here." So I stayed as Bobby Osborne and the Sunny Mountain Boys then.
Wow. How
And
long did that go? Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
on a Carter and Ralph Stanley, see, they had been at that WCYB in Bristol, Virginia.
Mhm.
They had been there for a long time before that. And Carter had Ralph got sick or something. No, he had a car wreck. He had a bad car wreck one time. He was laid up for 6 months or something. Well, Carter, while Ralph was gone, Carter went and worked with Bill Monroe playing the guitar.
Yeah.
So I got to know them pretty well like that,
Uh-huh.
And well, when I was with at Bristol with my Bobby Osborne and the Stony Mountain Boys, Carter Ralph came back with a guy at WCYB. He says, "I'm going to have to let you go." He says,
Oh.
"Because Carter Ralph Stone is coming back to the show." And I accepted that, you know. And
Hmm.
so they asked me to ask you, did you want to? And of course, I started playing the mandolin by then.
Hmm.
And what they asked me to ask you if you wanted to come back, and said Pee Wee Lambert is not going to come back with him.
Hmm.
They asked me to ask you if you want to come work with them.
Wow.
And I said, yeah. I said, I'll do that. So the group I had was they all went back to West Virginia, and I stayed there and went to work with Carter and Ralph Stanley, you know.
I
And
never knew that.
I worked with them. It was about 3 months or 4 months or something like that. And I knew I was going to be. I thought I was going to be called for military service.
Okay.
And I was working. I was working with them, and I got my call to go be examined for the military. So that
Yeah.
was I had to leave. I really liked that job there. So and I fit them just like Pee Wee Lambert did them high parts with him, you know, and I just took his place. It was it singing that
Wow.
part.
Are there any recordings of y'all playing and singing together?
No, I never did get to
Wow. Yeah.
that. Just before I had to leave to go get my physical for the military, Carter had called Nashville and got him a recording date to go to court.
Wow.
They had to. They did. I had to leave before we got a chance to do that.
Close. There are so many interesting connections in your story. Do you feel how do you feel about the spiritual side of music? Do you feel like there's a greater plan happening, or is it just kind of like do you think in those kind of terms with the music, with the spirituality?
Well, you mean singing gospel songs and things like that? What is that?
Yeah, yeah, and just how the spirit can come through the music and all these connections with people and like destiny and all this kind of stuff.
Well, I've always done every group that I was in. We sing gospel songs, and
Hmm.
I've always been interested in it. And even today, well, my brother be put out a gospel album of that gospel songs.
Yeah.
Well, it's
When you get to sorry, go ahead.
it's always been a gospel music. It just went along with bluegrass. I mean, the Carter
Yeah.
family, Monroe, Flatt and Scruggs, and all of them sing gospel songs. So uh, it's been in my family all these years too. So
Yeah.
very familiar with gospel music.
Speaking of family, when you get to see Sonny again, what's the first song you want to sing with him again? What's the first song you want to play when you see him again?
I don't, uh, he probably won't be sing Ruby and play the banjo to it. I guess.
I love it. I love it. That's gonna be a good,
I guess that would be
a glad
that would be
reunion.
that would be my guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So Bobby, thank you so much. I just I have maybe it's one or two more questions. Don't want to take too much of your time. We'd love to just sit and pick your brain all night. But for our folks that are learning here with the mandolin, with regard to the things that like the mindset that you had that allows you to do so much with the mandolin and create your own style and really stay true to your influences and like how you wanted to hear the music, and like pushing through all the challenges that come with learning how to play an instrument at a professional level. What kind of advice would you give to someone who's really kind of starting out, maybe intermediate level, with regard to the things that were the most important for you in your development?
Well, uh, I've talked to a lot of guys or people, mostly guys that I, girls and women. I don't think they need anybody to tell them how to sing because I never did try to tell a woman how to sing because she had a higher voice than I did. So I,
He's a wise fella,
I
smart man.
couldn't. But I don't know most of the women that sing Patsy Cline and Loretta Lynn and all. They just managed to have a style of singing of their own, and I just never did get into that right there. But I just took care of me as far as the singing. But I admired always women singers. Kitty Wales. I just been many of them that went further than I ever went. But I guess I don't know. That's about the only way. What else was you mentioned within that subject there?
Yeah, I was just asking, like, what advice would you have for someone who's just kind of getting started playing the mandolin about how to kind of persevere through all the challenges that it takes to learn the instrument to kind of create your own style? Is there anything that you might like share with someone, like inspiration about how to do it, how to do what you've done, create your own style?
Well, I've been teaching the mandolin for the college in Hyden, Kentucky for 15 years now.
Yeah, wow.
And he's one of my students over there.
Yeah, Wyatt.
And so I first of all, I would just I'd just mention. I said, "Are you interested in the mandolin?"
Uh-huh.
And I think a guy probably. I was interested in playing the guitar, and I never quit till I learned how to play one. But when I heard a mandolin, it was more what I wanted to do than the guitar was. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I switched. And
Yeah.
so I would just depend on singing. It would depend on who they would love to sing like, or
Uh-huh.
uh, sing have a voice to sing in a certain range in your voice.
Yeah.
I would just go with something like that. I tried my best to sing like Ernest Tubb. That's what I was going to be another Ernest Tubb if I could. But my voice changed higher, and I had to find something else. I tried to sing his up high like he does, but he didn't sing like Ernest Tubb. It didn't sound like Ernest Tubb, so I didn't do that no more. I just quit that. So, and I got to listen to Monroe songs, and when Flat and Scruggs left him and went with their own style, the Stanley Brothers, I got into, and my voice just went moved right up to where it suited the occasion, and I just became to most people, just became a tenor singer, and
Yeah.
that's how I got in. Of course, I learned I sing country songs still yet, but I put them up in that. They don't sound like Ernest Tubb songs don't sound like him anymore. But I mean, I just put them up in a key where they're comfortable for me, and it worked out pretty good. I do a lot of country songs and uh, just and anything I do, singing or playing, I just I do what sounds good to me, what I can do. There no use me putting a song in a key that don't fit me or
Yeah.
that I don't like. If I don't like a song, they don't put me to learn it because I wouldn't sing it anyway. So I just pick out a song. I can sing about any song I want to and get into my range, and
Yeah.
it won't sound like the guy put it out originally, but I mean, it'll pass for me. So
You might make it a little bit better. I heard it through the grapevine that you might be doing a little recording with C.J. Lewandowski. Is that happening?
yeah, we're going to do that, I guess.
That's super
uh,
cool.
yeah, he's CJ's been around quite a while. He's a
Yeah.
good player, and
Yeah.
he's been recording. He's been recording some, and of course, uh, he went to California some out there, and he got onto the guy that owns that little label. I can't think of it right now. Blue something blue. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
and the guy asked him to do a CD for him, and
Uh-huh.
so he asked me what I helped him with, and I told him, yeah, I'd be glad to. So we, I just decided we just do a CD together, and I thought it was going to work for him more or less, But he said, no, I want you be a part of it with me. So we decided we just do one together, and we're
That's
working
so
on
cool.
some songs and material right now to do it.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to hearing that. Bobby, where do you want to see the music go? Like, in the future, if you had your druthers, where would you like to see the music go and grow?
Well, it's going to grow where we and be different, regardless of what you and I do or think or say,
Right.
because uh, I think everybody that comes along that's learns how to play and sing, they've got a favorite. They try to sing something like somebody else, or some in some form of where their voice, once your voice changes and gets to where it's going to change, that you're stuck with that right there, what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Uh, Pick out songs that's in your range, and then and I never would get around Bill Monroe and try to sing one of his songs
Mm.
for him, one of his. But
Mm.
I mean, I've done his songs ever since I've been singing,
Mm-hmm.
and he knows. I've sung him Bee Blossom. I've sung his songs right in front of him. He liked that. He just
I bet he did.
and I, of course I'm still I sing his songs, but put them up in a higher range, and he said, "Well, it don't sound like me, but that's okay." But I don't know if I pick out a song I like, and I've recorded some. They're not exactly 100% rock and roll songs, but they're in that kind of a beat, you know.
Uh-huh.
Well, Shelley's Winter Love, you know, that my brother and me recorded that. And Merle Haggard, which he wrote it and sung it in his way of saying it, is like a ballad, you know.
Uh-huh.
We was in the studio, we was going to try to sing that song like Merle did it, but
Mm-hmm.
add the harmony to it, which would have been different.
Uh-huh.
And one of the guys in the band that was recording with us, they got are you familiar with the song Shelley's Winter Love?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, they got that beat going, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and when Hager did it, he just did it just a regular little slow song, you know.
Uh-huh.
The band we had all the top guys that did sessions all the time here in Nashville, you know, had them on it. So they the bass player, I believe he got on that beat that we recorded Shelley's Winter Shelley's Winter Love, and he got it, and all them guys fell in and just started doing that beat right there,
I love that
and
song.
my brother me said, "Well, boy, just sing it like we always did, and let them put the beat to it, and it'll be different from me." We was trying to be different from everybody, which still am, you know,
Thank you for
be different from
doing that.
anybody else. And we got to sing it. When Brady was the guy in the head of Decca Records at the time, and so he had never seen or heard Monroe or anybody try to do bluegrass instruments and sing like that, you know.
Mhm.
So he was working out pretty good. We was rehearsing, and when Bradley come out and he said, you mean to tell me you're going to record it like this?" He said, "Your fans they ain't going to like that."
Uh-oh.
And we just told him, said, "Well, it's just be their fault because if
That's
they
right.
don't like this, they don't."
Good on you.
So we wanted, once we got in that beat of Shelley's Winter Love, wow, it just
Yes.
fit so well. We just had to do it, you know, and
Totally.
ended up as one of the best recordings we ever made, you know. So,
Yeah, believing in the music, you got to. Well,
yeah,
how did
I tried my best to sing like Monroe, but when I got older and uh, it just when I get around to him and listen to him sing, and I got to, and me to sing the same song. Most of the time, I'd be in a higher key than what he would do it in, you know.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
And I think, well, I don't sing like my voice don't sound like that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of branched out from what he was doing,
Yeah.
type type of song singing he was doing. I just branched out and put a little bit of country in mine,
Yeah.
and it made me just a little bit different than what
And
he was doing, you know. So it got to where my brother we just put them in the keys that suited us, and the
yeah.
harmony I think we was born with a harmony
Oh
to
gosh, I
do
would say.
that. So
Yeah.
um,
And
we didn't. I didn't want to be like nobody else neither. I tried to copy Flat's guitar picking and singing, but
mm-hmm.
I give up on it. There's only one of them, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
there's only one Monroe, So
Mm-hmm.
we just give up trying to imitate them. And my brother, we just got together and put a little bit of what we do, how we knew how to do things, songs and picking, and it worked out pretty good, you know.
I'd say the world is a much better place because you were doing your own thing. Before we say goodbye, Bobby, do you have a favorite Bill Monroe story? You
Yeah,
probably got a few, but
I got a few of them. Uh, uh, I don't know. Let's see. You know, a bunch of what I've talked about, but Monroe's he was hard to get to understand and know as a person to person. You know,
mm-hmm.
I found out one thing about him: if he likes you, if he liked you, uh, uh, he would follow you around to get to talk to you. You know,
Uh-huh.
but and I learned to talk like him and everything else. You know, I get right in front of him and talk like him. You know, and he talked to me right back. You know, I don't think if he ever even noticed that I was trying to talk like him.
Uh-huh.
And so, he said, "Oh, that's right, yes, sir, that's right, Puppy." But and a lot of other people imitating his singing way Bill was just different from. I mean, he didn't sound like Ernest Tubb or talking or Eddie Arnold or nobody like that. You know, he
Yeah, yeah.
sounded like Bill Monroe,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of people right now. Every time I see him, being able to just start talking like Monroe, you know,
Uh-huh.
I think he enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And we got to doing it, but just talk. I got to talking just like him to him, you know.
Uh-huh.
And
Oh,
I
that's
think he
hilarious.
appreciated that.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know. Just Bill was to me. He didn't say much, but and he talked kind of fast.
Uh-huh.
But when he said something, if, whether it was truth or whatever, he meant every word
Uh-huh.
he said. You know, he wasn't ever just linger on something. He'd say what he thought about it,
Yeah.
and that's it. You know, but
Yeah.
he was. I got to know him real well, and he and I got along the best in the world.
I
And
love that.
so I did some recording with him on
Hmm.
3 or 4 songs, and let's see, one song, "Hear Sweet Voice Calling," maybe it might have been that song there.
Yeah. Love
Let's
that
see,
song.
I think it might have been that. One of them songs. He wanted to record that.
Uh-huh.
And I told him I went and I said, "Bill, it's your song," and I said, "Your voice fits the lead of it." I said, "It's
Mm-hmm.
just you need to sing that, and I'll do tenor." "Oh no, sir, I want you to do that lead part for me." He says, "Oh no, sir, I want you to do that." And I thought, well, if he wants me to do it, I'll just up and do it. I said, and I tried my best to stay. It was in a same key he did it in and everything.
Uh-huh.
I tried to sing more like myself than I did
Yeah.
him. But
Yeah.
when it comes to the tenor part of it, you know, if you can reach that high, you can sound like Bill Monroe. That's all. But he
Right.
really, we did some recording with him, and we sang it for him there. He said, "Oh, that's right. That's the way you do that with her." So
Oh, nice.
I think he appreciated people, and
Yeah.
I'd get in front of him, play a man on things just like him, you know, try
Uh-huh.
to.
Uh-huh.
But me and him were just good friends. He just one of them, and he was the only one that was. So
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a
Bill
fact.
liked the fact that he liked the fact that I was from Kentucky, where
Oh yeah.
him being from Kentucky.
Yeah.
He liked that one for sure. So
Yeah.
he was uh he was one of a kind. I got to know him. Got to know him real well, and a lot of people never get to know him as the real Bill Monroe. You know,
Yeah.
they know him as a entertainer, but they don't know him. I got to know him. I met him in the road, in the highway, or some. I mean, anywhere I met him, he knew who I was.
Yeah.
We just it was kind of a friendship like that, you know.
I love that. I love that. Well, Bobby, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a thrill and an honor, and I just want to say thank you for everything you've done for the world, your service to the country, the music, doing things your way, and world is a better place for it. And hope to see you in the analog world in 2023. And looking forward to all your new recordings. And just
Well,
appreciate you so much.
I don't do much. I've not done any for me, but CJ, when he came up with he found a guy out in California that wanted to do that label, wanted to do an album.
Yeah.
And CJ was telling him about me. And he said, "Why don't you do one together?" So, and CJ asked me if we could do one together. I said, "Yeah, it'd be fine with me. I ain't doing anything else, you know." So
Yeah.
we're going. I've been working up to trying to get some different songs to do for it, where it would uh, sound like us instead of somebody else. I do.
Yeah. I know you'll pick some
Yeah,
good ones.
we're going to do some standard songs that other people have done, and maybe do them a different way, do them our way.
Yeah. Well, I look.
And one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to feature the two mandolins,
Yeah, cool.
and I'm going to we'll do two parts, and of course I'll go back and do it. We're going to put three of them together. And
Wow.
I've made some tapes of them, three mandolins with it's like twin fiddles, you know.
Yeah.
Some notes and fiddle players they put four different parts in there with a fiddle,
Right.
and it sounds good. But and mandolins some the same way, you know. But some of those songs, slow ones, the waltzes or whatever, you know, some of the up tempo. Um, I do all the parts to it, three parts.
Wow.
I go back and do them, but you know, we're gonna put 3-part harmony on it. He's got a good mandolin and I have, so we're gonna put them together.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, I look forward to that so much. Love all of the Tremolo Tuesdays. Thanks so much, Scott, for helping set all this up, buddy. Really appreciate you too.
well, it's
Thank you, Chris. It's an honor to be here to listen to everything. And while I have us together, I'll plug the school for a second.
Yeah, please do.
Bobby does those lessons, as he said, for 17 years now, and I've worked there for 8 years. But just a little plug that he does online lessons. There's 10 to 12 slots that's available that he does, and limited spots, but it will start around mid-January, and it's very inexpensive. So if you're interested, you see how cool Bobby is one-on-one. You could email me. It's Scott Napier, Napier.f5, as in the mandolin, at gmail.com.
I know where you got that at.
That's right. I would love to see some of your fellow mandolin players, such as White, get to know Bobby, like he was talking about getting to know Bill Monroe, and you see how accessible he is, and imagine him like this with his fern. How great is that? Anyway, that's my plug. I'm just glad to be here, and thanks, Chris, for being a part, allowing me to sit in as a fly in the wall. And hello, David.
Are you what town are you in now?
I'm
right
down
now.
here. Oh, sorry, Scott. Go ahead.
No.
Are you in Hyden?
No, I'm actually up in Ohio right now with the Lawrence family. I'm out down what I would say down the holler. I'm down the holler from the farm. But anyway, yeah, I just had to get in on this. But I'll go. I love you guys. It's been awesome. And thanks for everything.
Well, I've enjoyed this. I got you good. I only seen you twice at school when I think so.
Yeah.
Good to see you. It's good to yeah. I really appreciate you having me on the show, sir.
Oh, it's been a blessing, Bobby. Hope y'all have a beautiful, happy new year.
All right. You do the same.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.